welcome to the Stellar Woman Show, the Stellar Woman Magazine, the show that brings you thriving women's stories, knowledge, and experiences so that you too can learn one or two things, be inspired, and make a change in your life. We believe that knowledge is power. Of course, when acted upon. We know in our way that knowledge can formulate light. So we are moving light from one part of the globe to another part of the globe so that we can have a brighter and better world. This knowledge helps to shake up perspectives and to reveal possibilities to all women in the world. So, my name is Stella Olivia Kikoya, and I'm the editor-in-chief and the host of the Stella Woman Show. So, I'm so excited to bring you an amazing Stella woman, women who work for change, women who are there and who embody it, whose presence shifts conversations, whose hearts move mountains, whose courage brings compassion into corners of the world. And here we are to meet Jessica Hansen. Jessica, welcome to the Stellar Woman Magazine and the Stellar Woman Show.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be part of it and to be part of this bigger conversation and this amazing community of women that you've brought together.
Amazing. And Jessica is definitely one of those women, and you're going to learn so much about how Jessica is Jessica and what she brings to the table and how she has been doing for quite a bit. Yeah, for over 2 decades. She has stood in intersection of humanity's deepest needs and its highest potential. And her work spans around refugee camps, rural villages, global NGOs, corporate boardrooms, international development platforms, and has been a powerful statement to what happens when purpose meets action and when empathy evolves into impact. And today, as a CEO of Alliance for Smiles, Jessica leads a global medical nonprofit that delivers free, life transforming surgeries to children across Africa, Asia, Central, and Southern America. And her work helps to restore not just faces, but futures. Through training and empowering local medical teams, Jessica ensures that the healing continues long after volunteers return home. And her story is here to stretch far beyond her single role. So, Jessica, here we are. We're excited to have you. Now, tell us, I don't know if that brief introduction does it justice, but we're excited to know more. And we have to start by asking, who's Jessica Hassan?
That was an incredible introduction. I was thinking you have captured what I would like to see about myself and say about myself more beautifully and eloquently than I have ever captured it on my own.
Oh,
So thank you so much for the introduction. And it's such a huge question who you are. And the thing that arises for me immediately is just it's a Neil deGrasse Tyson quote that I can't quite remember precisely, but it's about how for him he has two kind of purposes in the world, and it's to understand more about the world today than he did yesterday, and to ease the suffering of others. And I feel like if I had to encapsulate who I am and the sort of trajectory of my life in a nutshell, those two guiding posts are sort of the two pillars of who Jessica Hansen is, I would say.
oh, thank you for that. I love that. I really love that. And if we have to move on, what was your childhood dream career? We always want to go into that perspective first to tap into the little you and what she thought about at some point.
Absolutely. When I was young, I think I had a lot of dreams about what I would do. And I think, you pick up so much from family and from culture about what the acceptable jobs and successful jobs would be. And so I definitely considered a medical career. I think that would have made my lovely Asian mother very happy if I had pursued that. My dad was so supportive in that I could be anything. I could be an author, I could be president, I could be anything. And so I definitely cycled through a lot of potential, but I always felt the desire to, as I was saying, sort of see the world, understand the world, but help people and ease suffering. And so things like doctor, things like National Geographic photojournalist would pop into my mind. And then I started to realize there was this sector of work, there was so much that needed to be done in the world so that we could help address issues like famine, access to clean water, access to education, access to healthcare, where you're seeing the world, but you are easing suffering in the same role. And I think as soon as I heard of the Peace Corps and of humanitarian aid work, it became very clear what my path was going to be. So I feel lucky that I've known my whole life what calls to me and that people were doing this work and had sort of laid the path for me to have a career in this work.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And how is it lucky you are to be in a position where you're able to exactly see what you want to be and to see it actually happening, being able to ease the pain, but also be able to see the world at the same time and have your impact across the globe. That's amazing. Wow,
Thank you.
thank you. So you've spent over 20 years protecting what is good and transforming what is not. What early experiences shaped your calling to serve humanity?
When I was young, and I don't, we might have been around the same age at the same time. I'm not sure you're probably younger than me, but you might remember there were a lot of things happening in the wider world when I was young. So I learned about when I was maybe 14, the Rwandan genocide was happening, apartheid was happening in South Africa, the Exxon Valdez in the was it the late 1980s, early 1990s, created a huge environmental disaster. And so you're watching all of this on the news and going, who's going to do something about environmental justice, social justice? Um, so what was happening in the wider world definitely impacted me.
Mm,
And then also being raised in a home where I have a mother from Thailand, I have a father who was in the US military. Um, and both of them have incredible hearts for service and protection and supporting community. And so I was learning externally that things needed attention and needed care. And I was learning that we can all sort of step up and give that care. Also, when I was young, my mother shared that um, things were very different for girls in Thailand and that I should be grateful, on a day that I'm like, I don't feel like going to school. She would say, you're so lucky as a girl in the United States. You have a right to education. She's the eldest of five children in Thailand, and her four younger brothers got to continue at school when she was asked to step away from school.
you see?
And when she was quite young, she had friends that were offered jobs and girls were expected to work. And the jobs turned out to be sort of luring people into situations of trafficking. And
Oh,
knowing that I have cousins in Thailand, my mom's the only one that left. Um, and knowing female cousins were exposed to a different set of access to opportunity, but also risk and lack of safety made me very aware of the privilege that I had and also
mm,
that I
mm.
wanted to be part of trying to create more equity because it's to me very unfair that just because I was born in the United States and my cousins were born in Thailand that we would have such different life situations and privileges or risks.
Oh, wow. I get that. Wow. So your parents played a big role, but also having awareness of your background helped to transform, yeah, to feel this
Absolutely.
privilege and also the calling to do better. Wow. That's very good to know.
Definitely.
Was there a defining moment when you realized your life would be devoted to humanitarian work and social justice?
It feels like it was sort of just an ongoing understanding. It was
Mhm.
there.
Hmm.
but I didn't know what was possible. And I think it's still expanding what's possible. But understanding that there are challenges out there and then just continually learning what those challenges are, everything from conflict to gender-based violence to hunger to, you know, need for life-changing healthcare. It's all interconnected, and I can see ways that we can each play roles in all of it. So for me, it's just the continual growth and journey into doing it. So no specific moment, but it's always been there.
Yeah, something is just evolving. The page is being opened all the time, and you become more and more aware of your call. Oh, fantastic.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. So, what values from childhood or personal life still guide your leadership role today?
I love this. I love thinking back at things that I learned young that are still resonating with me now.
Yeah,
Um, and I think as I was mentioning, just having this family that like let me see across cultures,
yeah.
and gave me wider perspective in the world. I think I've always really valued being able to have that perspective and just seeing a Buddhist Asian mother and a Catholic white American military soldier. Um, and going, both of these people have such incredible value and such different perspectives and such beautiful humanity. And going, these are just two examples. And there are people from all of these cultures and all of these religions and all of these countries and backgrounds, and all of them have incredible innate value, um,
Mm,
and worth, and can contribute so much as well. And so for me, I think that is probably the most key thing, is being able to see that and being able to value it as a leader. No one has any more value or say than anyone else. And especially people that have been denied access or denied power or privilege, their voices need to be heard, because if they're not, we're not going to reach greater equity. And so I think that's something that I learned quite young. I think also that you kind of spoke to the protecting and defending. I think growing up with a Buddhist mother in a very Christian central part of the United States was important, because I felt very protective and defensive of her when people would tell her her belief set was wrong. I was just like, how does any one of us know the way, and why can we not value all of the ways, all of the backgrounds and ways of being? So
yeah.
that created a lot of openness and compassion for different viewpoints, um, and just different backgrounds. So yeah,
Wow. So
yeah.
definitely things spanning, making more sense. So like just even having the parents are serving you purposefully, just the differences between them and you acknowledging it. And yeah, oh, that's so beautiful. That's so
Thank you
beautiful.
so much.
That's beautiful. So your work, as we look at humanitarian leadership, I know we haven't I haven't interviewed women who do the work that you do. That's why I got so excited to really bring this forth. So your work spans across continents, that's Southeast Asia, Africa, but of America and beyond. What does humanitarian leadership actually mean to you at its core?
Yeah, I almost feel like humanitarian is limiting, because I feel like what people in this field often want to do is just protect and support like a fullness of life. So all beings, like the environment, animals, there's so many causes that call to people. And I feel like we have an innate desire to protect and defend life, the intrinsic beauty and wonder of life. Um, and so, from the humanitarian aspect of it, I would say that things have been distributed very unequally. because of history and power, privilege, war. Um, and it creates a system that needs redistribution. So the fact that some countries experience poverty, violence, suffering, it is through no fault of their own. It's through a pattern of history that has distributed resources and access unequally. And so, to me, being in humanitarian aid work is trying to bring more equity to that distribution of resources and opportunity, um, access to healthcare, access to education. It shouldn't be denied to any of us. All of us should be able to access this fullness of life and realize our full potential. And then for the leadership aspect, I really did not think of myself as someone who would ever be a leader. Always a supporter. I'm happy to support things I believe in. Um, and I think what I learned through my career is that leadership doesn't have to look the way that we see it in books, movies, TV, where it's some old white guy in a suit with a bunch of money bossing people around.
Mhm.
My style of leadership is very inclusive and it's very collaborative and kind and supportive.
Mhm.
And I think we get to redefine what leadership looks like. We don't have to accept the versions that were shown to us. Um, and I saw that people like me needed to step up into leadership roles because the old versions of leadership had created the world that had an unequal distribution of access and resources, and it's not working. And so we need a new way. And so I really appreciate everybody who has been part of that breaking down of the old systems of doing things and the old accepted versions of humanitarian leadership so that we can create a new and better way.
It's so beautiful. Oh, so beautiful. And coming from coming from my background being a place where definitely we find that the resources are not there, opportunities are not there, and hearing you voice what this is about, more equity. And yeah, it made me really touch my heart so much that this is what you is driving you. This is what is in your heart. This is in your soul. Just trying to find how the world could be more equitable. And it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge. And looking at how your leadership, the call to leadership is still purposeful. That's how you put
Absolutely.
it. Wow, that is so beautiful. Inclusive, collaborative, more supportive, more kind. That is redefining leadership indeed. Thank you for stepping up and showing
Thank you.
that form
You
of
too.
leadership. Thank you for
I can
doing
tell you, you are the same. You are a shining example of the same.
this is so beautiful, really
Thank
beautiful.
you.
That's like my I know we're just starting the interview, so I keep thinking, is that really going to be your There's more coming. We're just starting the interview, and I'm already like, I need to hold on to this.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's so good, so good, so good. Like you want to sparkle it out immediately. Like,
Yeah,
well, listen,
absolutely.
all of you listen. This is it. It's so beautiful,
Yes.
and you articulate it so well. So wow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you've encountered some of the world's hardest crises. And how do you maintain compassion and clarity amidst the suffering and systematic injustice?
That's a great question. And I feel like when I started in this field, and now I realize it's closer to 30 years ago versus 20 years ago, we were not as good at recognizing how you can be impacted by the suffering that you see. And so being in refugee camps, seeing people who had suffered torture and extreme violence when I was quite young had a huge impact on me. And there's something called secondary traumatization, where just by supporting someone through their own trauma or recording their trauma, you can also experience a degree of that traumatization in your own body and your own nervous system. But we didn't
Mhm.
know much about that
Mhm.
decades ago, and we weren't as good. And, you know, I try to be better about supporting my team in this now, but I think we're all still growing. And how can we look out for the people who are doing the work to try to care for others in very extreme situations?
Mhm.
Um, and so it's been a long process of learning how to care for myself and how to maintain, you brought up clarity and compassion specifically. And it's hard not to feel anger and injustice and
Mhm.
frustration when you see amazing humans being denied safety, denied access to things that they deserve. I think acceptance is a huge thing. And looking back at like values that I learned when I was young, if I ever complained, my dad would say, "Don't waste any energy complaining, do something about it. And if you can't do something about it, what's complaining? You're just wasting energy because it's not going to change anything." And when
Mhm.
I look at my mother and her Buddhist philosophy, it's similar. It's like suffering comes from wishing things were any different than they are. And when you're working humanitarian aid, you are working for things to be different than they are because something is
Mhm.
unjust. But you have to
Mhm.
accept where you are to begin with.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
say, okay, there is much need in this place that I'm working, and there's only so much that I can do. I'm going to be grateful for anything that I can do to
Mhm.
help create greater equity and equilibrium and ease suffering. And I might not be able to solve everything, but I can do something. And to be willing to accept every small bit of goodness that you can contribute as a great victory and
Yeah.
not lose heart or lose hope.
Yeah.
And I think also being able to look at everyone with compassion, including the people that are creating the problems.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of problems in the world today, and you look at the people that are at the root of them, and you can't see them as your enemy. You have to go, this person is either acting out of love or a lack of love. And often the people who are creating problems are acting out of a lack of love. And you're like, what does this person need to be well?
Yeah.
Because a well person would not create harm and suffering. And so I think compassion is the most important piece to not lose heart and hope in doing this work. And that includes seeing the people causing the problems with great compassion. And as long as you can do that and accept where you are, I think you can maintain clarity of purpose through and stick to your goal, not be bogged down by emotion, not take things personally, but just go, this is the work that needs to be done. I'll do what I can. I'll care for myself through it, which is also very important, not to sacrifice yourself and
Mhm.
sacrifice your joy and your own humanity. Your experience is just as important as everyone that you're trying to help.
Mhm.
And so you can only do so much for everyone. You got to also care for yourself.
Mhm. That's so beautiful. Yeah. Having that great form of compassion that goes out to even those who create the crisis.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing because you see someone and you're like, wow, you have just hurt a lot of people with that thing you did or that decision you made.
Yeah.
And you really have to go, what would drive someone to do this? And how can we help you? Because if we don't help you, you're going to keep creating chaos or challenges. And everybody needs to be well, and everyone needs to know that they're safe, they belong, they're loved, they're worthy. And I really think a lot of the problems in the world come from people not knowing that about themselves and not being grounded in their own enoughness and their
Yeah.
own divinity. Um, yeah.
That's the key message. And if I could take it a little bit further, do you ensure that everybody working at least with you or for you has that same foundation or understanding or approach?
I definitely try. I think that it's something that has to click inside each person for themselves. And probably, I mean, it's a bigger picture struggle for all of us is
Mm-hmm.
we have to know our own intrinsic worthiness and value. And I think people suffer because they don't see that, whether it's because you had a bad relationship with your parents or somebody broke up with you or some teacher told you you couldn't do something or be something. Someone along the line maybe told you something or made you feel like you were not enough or you were less than. And so
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's everyone's journey to find that for themselves, but also to be able to see it in every living being around you. Um, those are kind of two flip sides of the same coin, and they're both vitally important. Some people can do one, but still need to work on the other, and vice versa. But if you have both, I think you can move forward from a place of real grounded wellness to be able to help everyone. So when we have meetings, when we have medical missions where we're sending people out, I try to embody these practices of like everyone has the same value. You have value, please speak up. If someone's not speaking up, please do so. And then when we go to actually serve communities, it's all of those people have the same value, the same fears, hopes, dreams, and trying to make sure that all humanity is recognized at all levels of our work, including our donors, our volunteers, the families, communities we serve, our partners in the field. Um, I can embody that, but it's just like modeling it and trying to build it into the organizations that I work with. And
Yeah,
hopefully people click
pick it
into
up.
it on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pick it up. Beautiful, beautiful. So, what is the most transformative experience you've had working with communities facing such extreme vulnerability?
At the very beginning of my work, there were very powerful experiences. I was helping to document rape and gender-based violence against refugee communities. They're ethnic minorities along the border of what was Burma but is now Myanmar
Mhm.
and northern Thailand. Uh, and the stories were really atrocious. They were horrific. You would hear these and you would think no human could do this to another human, but you would hear it again and again. So clearly it was happening. Clearly it was a practice, just the inhumanity of it was a practice.
Mhm.
And so that was probably the most striking impact anything has had on me because I had to come to terms with the fact that humans could be more violent and cruel than I had realized. But also, what you see in those same moments is that the people who had suffered at the hands of these people were still laughing and still telling you stories and still having crushes on each other and still wanting to go to school and still wanting a better life for their kids. And so where you would almost be just knocked down by the inhumanity, you were raised back up by the incredible resilience of humanity. And so it was like getting punched down and having someone take your hands and lift you back up again. And you're like, wow, if you can come back after everything you've been through and you can still see the good and you can still want to go on and you can still work to make a better life for yourself and for your kids and your community, what excuse do I have, um so I think those were the most powerful, but also I resettled around 11,000 Burundian refugees to the United States. That was similar. They had been in refugee camps for almost 40 years. And the US finally said, we'll take 10, 11,000 of you. I resettled them across 108 cities across the United States. And they have been just waiting for life to begin and are ready to hit the ground running in Chicago, in Dallas, in Houston, when they haven't had a flushing toilet, they haven't had to pay bills or own a toaster before. And again, it's like if you can do this after what you have been through, I can do anything. I have such access to resource and privilege because of my birth and because of who I get to be that I have no excuses not to be doing all I can to support. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm still knocked down by what you're just telling me. Wow. Wow. Did you say 40 years?
Yeah, they were so
Like
in
four
Burundi,
zero.
almost. So
Oh, wow.
two things here. One is Burundi had four civil wars and genocide, while Rwanda had one. So it's similar. There's Hutus and Tutsis that were in civil war against each other in Burundi. So these Burundian refugees had fled in the civil war in 1972. Although some people in the camps had come during the later genocides, but most of them that we resettled fled in 1972. I was resettling them. I think it was 2008, 2009. So almost 40 years, meaning some young people had been
Wow.
born in the refugee camps and were
Yeah.
still there and almost 40 years old and had never seen the outside of a refugee camp. And the thing that I learned working with refugees is, you know, people see movies about refugees. Someone comes in the middle of the night with guns into their village. They run into the woods. They go, I'm going to go back when the violence dies down to my home, to my farm, to my work, my school. And the average length of displacement, of being out of their home and their community, when I started in the refugee field was 26 years. So they run out in the middle of the night thinking, I'm going to go back in a day or two. And they're gone for 26 years on average, meaning some are gone longer, some are lucky to not be gone that long. But it's insane to lose everything in your life that you've built for almost 30 years just waiting for safety. So it blows me away what refugees
My
go
heart is
through. And
pounding so fast. Like I kept saying, did I actually prepare for this interview? That's what
oh, your questions are incredible. Um,
did I actually? No, what do you mean? Was I ready to receive?
oh, okay, I'm gonna blow your mind just a little more then. When refugees come to the United States, this I also learned in bringing them here. They have 90 days of support through these refugee resettlement organizations in the United States to learn English, to get their kids enrolled in school, to get their house up and running, to get their job, get going in their job. And they come here in debt because there's an organization called the International Organization of Migration that pays for their plane tickets to come to the United States. So when they get here, they owe the IOM for their plane tickets to the US. And very few um, refugees get very much support in getting a job. I mean, there are organizations that help them find employment, help them get their kids enrolled in school, help them learn the bus routes. How do you even get to your job? You've been living in a refugee camp and now you have to navigate public transportation. It's all mind-blowing what they have to overcome in a very short time. Um, and this is where I'm just looking at what humans are capable of overcoming and achieving. And you see these stories of refugees that have done incredible things in their
Wow.
communities, and they have done that against all the odds. So it's a very inspiring group of people to serve.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
inspiring. If they can, so can you. Whoever's listening or watching this, that is just enough to make you get up and start doing what you have to do. Wow.
absolutely.
Wow. 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 Thank you for sharing that. I have been transformed anyway. I've just been trans It's going to stay with me for quite a bit. Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh. Powerful, really powerful. You are powerful, really, also what you do and working. I'm now taking it to the level high in terms of how I see people who serve humanitarian who do humanitarian work. Yes, I've always been seeing it, but now to hear the detail of it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Takes a big heart. Really big
Thank you.
heart.
But I also acknowledge we're very lucky because in all the places I've worked, especially when I worked in tech companies, people would just say, how do I do a job that has more meaning and purpose? And you can see no matter what people are doing, they're looking for how can I
Something.
help people too?
Mm,
So I also feel very lucky. I recognize that every day I get to get up and do
mm,
work that I believe in. So
mm.
I'm a very
That
lucky
is,
person.
yeah, that is for the greater good of all. Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Thank you for all the work and thank you for all your team and everyone who's doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much. So you've worked with organizations like such as MSF, UNHCR, IRC, Kiva, Mercy Corps, and many more. What has each chapter taught you about humanity?
Yeah. MSF is Médecins Sans Frontières for anybody that doesn't know. It's Doctors Without Borders in the United States. So
Doctors
that
Without
was
Borders. Yeah.
exactly. So that was
Wow.
one of the first ones I worked with, and I'm back to working in healthcare now. And at some of these other organizations like Mercy Corps, and Kiva, I did a big focus on education programs with the Women's Refugee Commission, with UNHCR, it's very focused on protection. And I think the big picture thing from all of it is it's all connected. I think you can see that when you're in any one of the fields. Um, if you are trying to help a community get out of a situation of famine and hunger, so you're working in East Africa, you know there's a drought, you know the crops aren't growing as much. Um, and you go, okay, well, I really want to help this community have access to food. So you're helping with an agriculture program, but the workers are getting sick because they don't have hand washing stations and they don't have latrines. And so they're using the public water supply. So the public water supply is making everyone sick. And so then you put in some water and sanitation programs, maybe some public healthcare programs, and also, as people are able to access education, information, they're able to develop better systems so
Mhm.
that they can farm better, so that they can learn that when you plant the corn next to the beans, it may be depleting the soil of something that's necessary. So, access to education is also important to being able to have agricultural success and end famine in the community. So I think anytime you work in any one of them, you see that if you don't also have people who are working on the other, or if you're not working on the other comprehensively, none of it is going to have a sustainable, real impact on the community that you want. It will fall apart in a few months. It will end when everybody is sick because the water supply is contaminated. It will end because no one
Mm.
has access to education and they're not learning how to adapt to changing circumstances. Um, and the other side of it is to be sustainable, it has to be sort of built into systems where there's
Mm.
funding, where you're not completely dependent on aid. And so for us in East Africa, when I was living there before I moved here, that meant we had to create businesses that sustained the charitable parts of our work. So we had to create a dairy farm and a yogurt producing facility, and that generated enough money to pay for the hand washing stations and pay for the training of the farmers and pay for the education programs for the children. Because if they are waiting for people to be interested and write checks, that's not going to live forever. That's not sustainable. But having a business going that can generate enough income to pay for those programs is a way to make it sustainable. And for bigger businesses and corporations like Lyft and Twilio, where I worked, you can
Mm.
build doing good into your model. Your employees are happier because, like we were talking about, everybody wants to know that what they're doing is contributing to something good in
Something.
the world.
Yeah.
So they're making money, they're building your business, but they also feel really good about what they're doing. And you're driving your brilliant people, your money, your product, your services towards creating something good in the world. It's costing you almost nothing, and you're having a huge impact. So I would say the big picture thing is it's all connected, and you need
Yeah.
to think about impact and sustainability to make anything last.
Okay. Wow. Connection, impact, and sustainability. Yeah. And that's everything, I think, to all of us. Anything that you do, if you see it in its own isolation, it can't happen. It's not
Yeah,
sustainable. You have to just see how everything is connected, how everyone is connected in your organization, at home. Everybody's playing a part, and each person has actually a key role that makes it work, that makes whatever
exactly.
you're doing become possible. For you to achieve those goals, you need all these other organizations to be working well. That's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Thank you for sharing that.
Of
Okay, so now we move on. Much of your career has centered on protecting people, especially women and children. What does protection actually mean beyond the traditional definition?
Mm.
Because
I
I've
mean,
learned over time, and especially through interviewing people, when we talk about support or giving people aid, some of us stop at the point of giving, and that should make the person go wherever they're going, transform life. But then you realize that when people are talking about support, it's full support. That even that cow, so a guest was sharing that cow you've given someone, they might not be able to utilize it because of another issue within about their life. And that means you have to
absolutely.
go beyond to get to know what that is and then give them support with that for that so that they can utilize the cow that you've given them.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so in that regard, I realized that some words in real terms don't just mean what you think that they mean. It is more than that.
Yeah. I love this. And when you say the word protection, it makes me think of the phrase freedom from fear. And then I go, freedom from fear of what? And I love that you brought up the cow because it's like freedom from fear of lack of livelihood. Like maybe that cow is how someone's generating money to provide healthcare for their kids, medicine for their kids, food for their children. Maybe it is their food supply. Maybe it's the reason that they can pay for school uniforms and school fees and books and go to school. Like that cow can be many things, right? Just like protection can be freedom from fear of many things. So, at a very base level, when we talk about protection, we're talking about like on the hierarchy of needs, you have to have your basic needs met first, right? You need to be able to access water, food, and shelter are your basic needs. The next level of need is your physiological safety. Are you safe enough? You can't do anything else. You can't learn anything. You can't build anything if you don't have your basic survival needs met and then you're safe. And so that next level of protection is protecting your body, protecting your dignity, protecting your family. And then as you're moving up that hierarchy of needs, you're then protecting your wellness and your self-esteem and your belonging in a tribe. And then you're eventually protecting your ability to access the things that allow you to become a fully realized human. Your dreams, your goals, your feelings of enoughness and worthiness in the world, your connection to other people. But it sort of goes from that base level. Can we keep you alive and fed? Can we keep you sheltered from inclement weather? Can we keep you safe from other people? Can we keep you safe from animals? Can we keep you safe from disease? Can we keep you safe from, I hate to use the word ignorance, but like a lack of knowledge, a lack of access to tools that will allow you to change your situation and help your community learn how to do something new, learn a profession, and then move up that hierarchy. So it can mean all the things, freedom from fear at all the levels.
Freedom from fear from all, yeah, all levels, yes. And fear
Hmm.
can come from anywhere, anywhere.
Hmm.
Great. So access to education is central to your work as well, as you've just mentioned, actually. Why do you believe education is one of the most powerful tools for freedom and dignity?
Oh, it's so fundamental. I feel like people can create their own change. One of the big problems with humanitarian aid, especially when I got started, was sort of what we were talking about earlier, where there are groups of people that because they have access to wealth, privilege, resources, opportunity, they think they have all the answers.
Oh, yeah.
Education allows people who actually know the problems, whatever challenges they're dealing with in their own life, in their own community, to be
Mhm.
able to think about and find solutions to those problems on their own, to be able to access information on the internet, to be able to access careers that could help change their own life, their children's lives. Um, we were talking at the Women Changing the World Summit about what it is to educate girls, especially because
Mhm.
women and girls don't always have the same access to education, as I was describing with my mother's situation. And if a country like India were to educate just 1% more of girls in secondary school, it's estimated by the World Bank that they would raise their GDP by $5.5 billion a year.
Wow.
Education is so fundamental to not having, especially for girls, girls sucked into child marriages. Um, Women and girls often reinvest into their families and communities. So this is just speaking to educating them in particular. And so if
Mhm.
they're creating a better life for themselves, they're building careers, they're building businesses, they're serving their community, but then they're also earning income that allows them to provide better health care for their children. Educated women and girls often have fewer children, but they're healthier and they have a better life ahead of them. You have that
Mhm.
happen generation after generation,
Yeah.
and you've got people on a trajectory out of poverty long term. So education is sort of this investment in allowing people to create allowing. I mean, it should be their right. So
Yeah.
I don't even like words like allowing and empowering. It's like
Allowing. Yeah.
who's allowing, who's empowering? Like they should have the
Somebody's
allowance and the power anyway. It was unfair that it was taken from them in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, but it is giving people the tools, resources, and opportunity to not rely on the charity of others to get out of whatever situation or create a better situation for
Yeah.
themselves and their family. And education is like the fundamental building block to make all of that happen.
Yeah. Very
Yeah,
beautiful. Beautiful. Because without it, the way you've talked about it, someone allowing it means someone has power. Someone is still holding your power to do, to become, or to have anything that you desire. Yeah.
yeah,
So education is also playing a role towards the freedom that you talked about in that regard.
exactly.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So you have developed programs for youths, refugees, survivors of trafficking and underserved communities. What universal hope do you see across all of this?
Universal hope across wow. People are incredible. Human beings are incredible. And there is an innate desire in all of us for connection, for belonging, for joy, for like an incredible experience of being here. Um, there is a quote that I love that is problematic, but it's I wake up torn between my desire to save the world and savor the world. It makes the day hard to plan. I really love that
I
because
wake up between the desire.
torn between the desire to save the
Oh,
world and savor the world. And to
Okay.
me, it is problematic because saving, again, it's sort of that rescue complex that someone has the power and they need to swoop in and save someone else.
Yeah.
Um, but what I like about it is that it speaks to this desire that we all have to create a better life for ourselves, for each other,
Mhm.
our shared humanity, our shared resilience, and desire for everyone to have freedom from fear, freedom from harm, and access to opportunity and resources. So I think that's the um, wanting to save the world is just wanting to be present in an equitable, fair, amazing world
Mhm.
and being willing to put in the work to make that happen. And the savor the world is also important. Like all of us should experience the beauty, the wonder, the mystery of life, and I think people in humanitarian aid can get bogged down in the save the world and forget to savor. If you are, torn down into depression, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the bad news and the terrible
Yeah.
things that are happening, you're not savoring the world, and your life and your experience of life is just as important as everyone else. And so, um, really living your life, being present in your life, feeling connected, knowing that you are of worth and value is equally important. And I think when you look at all of these communities, you look at youth, you look at refugees, they are continuing to act and make the world a better place, make better lives possible for themselves and their kids. And then they are being present, still experiencing joy despite whatever they've been through or whatever they're witnessing in the world. So that gives me continual hope in humanity, seeing that beautiful balance of those two things.
Oh, very nice. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, we like to ask this particular question because you are a stellar woman. Now, we want to always ask, who's a stellar woman and what attributes
Who's
does
a
a
stellar?
stellar
Oh,
woman have? Yeah.
oh my goodness. I mean, you're a stellar woman. I feel I could name so many. I mean, my cats that may pop behind me are named Maya Angelou and Ruthie Bader Ginsburg. So I'm all about incredible women who stand up and shine, and not only like shine their own light, but shine light on those who otherwise wouldn't be seen or known. Um, and on injustices as well, drawing light and attention to the things that need to change, or the things that we need to preserve. Um, there are such incredible women, and the attributes are knowing that you are worthy of taking up space. One of my girlfriends very much inspired me when she said, "Don't ever make yourself smaller for anybody." I took that. I think she gave it to me as advice when I was like, "Oh, I should lose weight. I should whatever." And she's like, "Don't make yourself small." And I love that because it's not just physically small, but it's don't make yourself small for anybody in the room to make them more comfortable. You can be big, you can take up space. It doesn't mean you're overpowering, it doesn't mean you're bullying anyone. It means that we all have the right to take up the space that we, need to take up in the world. Um, and another phrase that I like kind of related to that is another woman I know said, "Oh, am I too much? Go find less." So it's like, don't tell women to be less, like, "Oh, girl, you're being too much." Like, no, if you think I'm too much, you can go find something that's less out in the world because I'm here to be big, to be heard, to create the kind of world that I want to see. And I also think that stellar women are driven by seeing everyone with eyes of compassion. That's from a Thich Nhat Hanh quote. He's an incredible Buddhist monk, but
Mhm.
being able to see everyone with eyes of compassion means that you're not only seeing where they've come from and what is driving them to do the things that they're doing,
Mhm.
what their motivation and their goals are, you're just
Mhm.
connecting to the humanity in everyone. And that is a special ability that I see more in women. It doesn't mean it's impossible in anyone who doesn't identify as a woman, but you see it more in women that we can see how we're connected to everyone, and
Yeah.
that by supporting anyone, we're supporting ourselves, we're supporting those we love. So we just have an innate ability to recognize interconnectedness, which is really beautiful.
Really beautiful, really beautiful, and compassion being a key aspect here. I just I was trying. I'm now into your world and imagining the world where everybody sees everyone with the eyes of compassion. What world
That's the
would that be
dream.
like?
That
That
is
would
the
be
dream.
such
And
fantastic, a good world to be in.
absolutely. Yeah.
And here we are spreading knowledge. Look at, is that Maya Angelou?
This is Miss Maya Angelou,
Oh,
another stellar woman.
he must have had the name call out. I
They
moved
do know their
closer,
names. Yes. Yes.
moved closer to the interview. Here we are talking about you. Yeah, that's so good. What I think these are key aspects for all women to hear loud and louder, really. Being able to stand up and shine, not just light for yourself, but also on others. And looking at all these women who are fighting any form of injustices and who are also trying. You put that aspect, and I thought my brain was brought to alertness, preserve, the need to preserve. What
Mhm.
role for those who are in such roles of preserving what needs to
Mhm.
preserve, they do an amazing job. But also women remembering, I think for many of us, and especially women like myself, taking up space, knowing that you're worthy of taking up space, that's a big call. And every time you have to remind yourself to do it. But you always feel like
Absolutely.
you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to, yet you should. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like culture tries to make women smaller.
Mm.
And similar to that example of CEOs and managers and leaders that I saw, and I thought, oh, this is the way it is. And then I realized,
Mhm.
why is that the way it is? Why is there not a better way? Same thing with women and cultures that try to make us small and this
Yeah.
patriarchal hierarchy. Like, no, that's not working clearly.
Yeah.
And so this needs to change, and women need to step up. I used to hear that phrase, the future is female, and I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I understand it more and more because what women bring, we don't bring war. We don't bring violence. We don't bring inequity. And I'm not saying that all men or non-women identifying people do. I'm
Mhm.
saying that when women are in charge, we see good things happen for everyone. When women are empowered with finance, with education, everything gets better for everyone. And so the future is female to me doesn't mean women are the best and women are in charge. It means when
Mhm.
women have equity and
Yeah.
equal role in decisions, in finances and education, the world gets better for absolutely everyone. So that's the dream.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And that's the truth. That is the real truth there that we have to hang on to. Okay, so if you look at women generally, what do you think is a challenge that women face in stepping up into like the role that you're doing, or in anything that maybe just even taking up space? What is what is the key challenge, or what are the key challenges? You can go beyond one here.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, there are so many challenges. Women get paid less to do equal work, or women have maybe two-thirds of the same legal rights as men around the world. Women are more often victims of gender-based violence, of human trafficking. We're kept out of school more. There's so many challenges, big picture challenges. Um, and then I would say also we face cultural beliefs that some individuals continue to carry that say that we are worth less, that we're less intelligent, that we're less strong, that we should be involved less in big political decisions and legal decisions. Um, we even have in my personal role, and I, as we have talked about, I'm a very privileged individual in a position of power in my organization. And there are people that will not hand me their donation check because I'm a woman. There are people that support us that won't speak to me, that after I've been with this organization for 6 years, do not see me, will talk to my team who all, who I manage and they're male and they will talk to my supporters on my team and not me because I'm female.
Really?
So I think it exists at every level. And hopefully, we are moving towards a future where we are disrupting those systems and creating more equity. Um, and I think it is just going to take us demanding more and people who are allies to women demanding more as well. Everyone needs to be involved. And again, no one is the enemy here, even the people that are not giving me the check or not speaking to me. It's looking at them and going, what is it that you don't see? What history have you been brought up with? What have you been taught that tells you that I am not worthy of being spoken to? And how can I help? And maybe I can't. Maybe this is something that's deeply ingrained in you, but let me present myself to you as an honest, fair person who's here to hear what you have to say and grateful for every contribution that you give and
Mhm.
model that. That's the most
Mhm.
that I can do. I
Mhm.
can't force someone to see my value, but I can share that value with them and they can choose to see it or not.
Fantastic. So I think you've gone into what I was going to ask, how we can, how do you in particular transcend beyond these challenges that you
Mhm.
face as a woman? And also, how do you think other people, because you might not be in those challenges, but you've seen people go through them. And I wanted to know more of the solutions towards some of these challenges. And I'm sure you've brought up some of the aspects of us demanding more, and also the allies helping us to demand more, but also ensuring that we can maybe is it have conversations with some of these people and
Yeah.
letting them know that you are here to help them bring an understanding that you're worthy and you can be. And of course, you can't force them, but I don't know whether there's anything else you can articulate in that regard in terms of how women can overcome these challenges and transcend to become the women that we're called to be, the stellar women.
It's a Yeah, it's a great question. I wish I knew solutions that
Yeah,
would work easily. I think the big
yeah.
picture solution is continuing. I mean, I just thought of like again looking at people with compassion.
Mm,
There are systems in place that have made people believe things that I know fundamentally are not true. That people of different races have less value, or people who are born with disabilities have less value, or that people of a certain gender or no gender have less value. I know that those things are not true. That is a fundamental truth in my life that all living beings have intrinsic worth, divinity, and they all belong. And as long as I am continuing to act from a place where no matter what you're saying or what your belief system has influenced you, I want to hear what you have to say. Your opinion is important to me. And
mm,
even if it goes against the fundamental truth that I know to be true, that all life has value and meaning, I need to
mm,
understand why you think that and where it's
mm,
coming from and how I can help you to see the fundamental truths that I know are
mm,
true and will also help you, will help each person to be able to be well in this ecosystem that we live in, because the
Mhm.
ecosystem is better when we're all well. And somebody that's acting from a place of like, women aren't as valuable, or people from this country or religion or race are less valuable, that's not a place of wellness. And all we can do is try to help everyone reach wellness. So that means we're loving everyone, we're seeing where they come from. It doesn't mean accepting abuse, it doesn't mean agreeing with things that are fundamentally untrue, but we don't have to be unkind in that. We can be firm and loving. And I think that is a beautiful thing that is like inherent in the stellar women that I know and most women that I know. I think the strength part is the part that we're still continuing to grow, but we are incredible. Women are incredibly strong. We have overcome so much, and we hold households and communities. And so we are strong, but it's like asserting ourselves as equal in the world. And then also everyone's involved. So it's going to require allies. It's going to require men to acknowledge this, and to everyone needs to be on board with the redistribution of power, of resources, um, and access in the world.
Oh, fantastic. Definitely, definitely. We are all in the ecosystem and we need to acknowledge that. We really need to acknowledge that. And that makes a big difference if we do. If we do. Um, Now we know that what do I want to ask here? So you've also been able to design systems from microfinance to corporate inclusion to international aid. What do you believe real innovation looks like in terms of social impact?
Yeah, innovation is listening and being very curious, because what you're doing is seeing what is actually needed, looking at an old system, what worked, what didn't work, what can you learn and build from, but also being able to adapt and knowing that change is inevitable. The world is continuing to change. So no one has the right answer yet, because every day we're in a new situation where things exist. Look at AI, look at the Industrial Revolution, things change at a rapid pace. So you can't be someone who thinks you have all the answers. You just have to have a very open mindset, a lot of curiosity, and a real desire to put your ego and put anything you think you already know to the side, and have the goal of what is the greatest benefit, or what is the next step for humanity, and being able to be open to seeing it and getting there. And that also means including people that traditionally have not been included. That means seeing things from all aspects. So that means, it makes me think of the autonomous vehicles now, like self-driving cars. Having worked at Lyft, I had a special window into to self-driving cars, and they were using old camera technology that was developed by Kodak. And those were developed by, white male scientists in a lab, and didn't always recognize different shades of skin, didn't recognize people in wheelchairs, didn't recognize all sorts of things as people, because it was old technology. And so if you don't have everybody in the room, you're not thinking, how do we recognize someone in a wheelchair? How do we recognize someone with a different shade of skin, so that this technology works for everyone? And it needs to. So to me, including everyone, listening to everyone, and not thinking that you have any of the answers, but just being willing to learn and keep moving forward.
Oh, fantastic. Very good. So there are always misconceptions. What misconception do people have about humanitarian work and global development?
The biggest one is like charity. It's this idea, we call it in university, we would call it the white savior complex, where, oh, it's our job to go help these poor people who just can't figure it out for themselves. It's not recognizing the horrible history that has created the inequitable system that exists, and not recognizing that even, way back, if you look historically at civilizations as they develop, it was the ones that were more warring and more driven to conflict. If you had a village that was welcoming you and offering you food, and you came
Mm.
in with your swords and your clubs, the ones with the swords and clubs are the ones that survived and passed their genes on. And those things went on and on and on. And so the people that came out on top were not necessarily the kindest, most intelligent people. They were the ones with the biggest weapons. And so what I think is amazing right now is
Mm.
that intelligence is growing, compassion is growing, appreciation for the shared humanity and building culture, community, civilization together in collaboration is growing. And so
Yeah.
there's an opportunity to spread those genes into the pool that are all about being innovative, being curious, being compassionate in a way that we haven't before. And you can
Yeah.
see these kind of thuggish uprisings. They're like, no, we're gonna fight and our country's better, our race is better. Those are the hopefully the swan song of those other, warring civilizations. And hopefully we're moving to a place where the people who are welcoming you with the bread and inviting you to the table are going to spread their genes and keep moving forward. So, um, yeah, I guess that kind of went
That
off
has
track,
brought a
but
lot of light. That's so good, bringing light to how the whole aspect has developed in terms of the complexity of equity and knowing that, yeah, those who were able to survive are the ones who took the sword and who
yes.
took the action. Yeah.
And I
Wow.
don't think that we should let that make the decisions for humanity going forward. And I think we are getting better. Um, and hopefully people can see more how this history has impacted an unfair distribution of resources and access. Yeah,
Definitely, definitely. And your work does help with that. Yeah.
thank you.
So, what you've helped corporations activate their platforms and people for good. What advice would you give businesses? There are many entrepreneurial women here who want to drive real ethical impact.
I would think about what we were talking about before with impact and sustainability, and I would be very thoughtful about it through the chain. So, one thing that we talk about a lot is where we've made mistakes and can learn how to do things better.
Mm.
Um, and so, we talked a little bit about at the Women Changing the World Summit about the 60% of charity built wells in Africa that aren't working because people went down there and they had a really beautiful intention and they had the resources to make one well or five wells, but not to the forethought to build in a system where they have trained the local community to recognize when there are problems, to have access to the tool to solve those problems. Same thing with businesses and corporations. When you are trying to create something, especially if you're trying to create something with a social good or environmental good impact, doing something that is just short-sighted. So doing something, we talked about some of these companies that deliver a pair of socks or a pair of shoes for everyone that's you buy here to a community in need. That was very short-sighted. It was very well intentioned. It was such a beautiful intention and it was a really cool idea. But in practice, what we saw was that these companies didn't really have a great system for delivery. So they deliver these one-time big shipment in this village and another one-time big shipment. And anyone who was building that business in a sustainable way locally was put
Mm.
out of business and went to get another job, because why would you make shoes if all of a sudden there's 1,000 shoes in your community? You have no income, so you got to go find something else to do. But then if that doesn't consistently happen, you're going to need shoes again, and you've now put this person out of business. You haven't used any local resources so that this is something they can create locally. So it's really
Mm.
thinking through the long-term impact and the ecosystem that this thing is now going to be a part of so that you're not
Mm.
causing more harm than you're doing good in that community. That would be my biggest piece of advice because we've seen things go wrong where really well-intentioned people have accidentally created more harm when they were trying to do something really good.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, so looking at the impact and the ecosystem is going to be key, yeah, in that. Okay, talking about women changing the world and all the work that you do. I know you've won many awards. What do these awards mean to you and to your work?
On one hand, I would say,
First of all,
ev
congratulations for all of us.
thank you. I am
You can
still
tell
blown
why
away.
you get those awards. Everyone can tell, I hope. Yeah.
That is so kind. I I really feel like I know so many people who do such incredible work. I want to give any award I ever get to all of them. I know that they work so hard and they've created so much change and are
Mm.
doing so much good in the world. So it's humbling to receive anything. Nobody that does this work is doing it to win an award or be recognized.
No.
Um, and then on the other hand, it's such an honor to
Mhm.
be among such incredible women and to have any of them recognize what you do as of value. Um, so very humbling, very honoring, and yeah, I just feel I want to redistribute that just like I want to redistribute all the resources because there's
Yeah.
so much good happening all around the world. And every time I see it, I want to give a trophy and be like, you're doing amazing. So I'm honored, but it's it's deserved by so many more.
It's deserved by so many more. That's right. That's right. Always sweet. Always sweet. And definitely, as you can see, that's why you're such a stellar woman, isn't it? You
Thank
still want
you.
others to receive, you still want to amplify others in even the situation where you are being recognized for what you do. Such a stellar
Absolutely. And
woman.
there's nothing that I do alone. I mean,
Yeah.
my organization now, we have a board, we have 1,000 volunteers, we have an amazing team, we have incredible donors, and none of it's possible without them. And that's
No.
just one chapter of my life. And
Mm.
so I'm just representing this huge community of people. And
Mhm.
without any one of those groups, we
You
couldn't do
wouldn't.
the work. So I wouldn't be getting any award or any recognition for anything. And so it's just being a representative of a huge group of people that believe that kids deserve surgery, that the world could be better than it is, and are actually doing something to make it happen. So it's definitely not just me.
Your work is really life-changing. When you talk about those children and what you do, just it's so beautiful. Yeah.
It's very incredible. A
And it
lot
needs
of
to
the
be checked out.
education, thank you. A lot of the education programs and work that I've done take decades to create change. And where I work now, we give kids surgery in an hour and a half, 3 hours, their life has changed forever. So the impact is very immediate and very tangible. So it is really incredible work, and I feel very fortunate to be part of it.
Very nice. Yeah. And you talked about, I think, during Women Changing the World, where we met, you were talking about a particular case study. Are you able to elaborate on one of them?
Oh, for sure. There are so many that have stuck out to me. I can't remember which one exactly, so I'll give you the first two that pop to my mind.
I
Or
have the image rather than the name,
it's
unfortunately.
okay. Well, the image, the photo that I shared, the main one was of a young lady named Esperanza, and she is from Ecuador and had a pretty severe cleft palate, so an opening in the top of her mouth, a very severe cleft lip,
That's the
um,
one. Yeah.
a lot of dental work that needed to be done. And
Mm-hmm.
when kids with cleft lips and palates try to eat, especially if they have a cleft palate, the food goes up through their nasal passage. The liquid does the same. They get a lot of upper respiratory infections. It hurts to eat, it hurts to drink. These are very basic things that we need to
Yeah.
do for our survival every day.
Mm,
Um, and not only that, but 1 in 10 of the kids that are born with these conditions are killed by their own families or communities because it's seen as a curse, or they know this kid is going to have a really difficult life and there's no trained surgeon in the country, or they can't afford surgery. And so you hear about this and you go, it's not just life changing, it's life saving. These kids are getting sick, they're not being allowed to survive because of this condition. When an organization like mine, and there are other organizations that go and give these surgeries for free, and we also train and equip the local medical teams to be able to do that without us because we can't get everywhere all the time. So similar to, dropping off a load of shoes, we want someone locally to be able to produce the service long term so that they're not waiting for a one time, we're here
mm,
to give surgeries. We
mm.
want them to be able to do it without us. We want to work ourselves out of a job. That would be the dream.
Oh, beautiful. Indeed, that's beautiful. That example, and you elaborating it, especially this time around, I've got to even understand it more. The way the food is consumed. What difficult
Mm.
is that? How much we
Oh,
take whatever we have for granted.
absolutely. The
Yeah.
simplest things that you need to do every day, and it's painful and embarrassing and
Oh,
so challenging for them.
yeah. And also your family really regarding you as a caste or whatever it is, just because of how you were born.
And those kids aren't allowed to go to school. They get bullied by their communities. They don't have friends. We actually met a woman that was 37 that came in for surgery, was still living at home with her mom. And she started crying and she was like, I'm so tired. And I was like, oh, you should go lay down. And she goes, no, I'm tired of my life. I have no friends. I'm 37. I have no boyfriend. I'll never have kids. I'll never get a job. I'll never get to go to school. And so for me, she kind of showed me, she was in Guatemala. She was so sweet and she did get surgery from us, but she kind of showed me what a life is like if you don't get the surgery. You're excluded. You don't get to experience the connection, the opportunity, the education, having a job, building your own family and your own career, whatever it is that you want to do. You don't have access to any of that if you don't have the surgery. So in just a few hours, we can make that possible for everyone.
Just a few hours.
It's
Just a few
amazing.
hours. Like you said, life change. Sorry, it's not just life saving, life changing
Yeah. Complete change of the trajectory of a life.
completely. Now everything is possible after that. Just a few hours. Incredible.
It's amazing.
Your work is incredible. It's
Thank
very
you.
good. So you've mentored students, youth. Jessica, you've just done a lot of things, communities and leaders. What message would you give to young change makers who feel overwhelmed by world challenges today?
Start small.
Mm,
Everything you do matters. Every act of goodness, holding
mm,
a door open for someone, see somebody struggling on the stairs with a heavy suitcase.
mm, mm,
It's going to make you feel good. It's going to make them feel good. It's a reminder. Every choice that you make in that way is a reminder to all of us that humanity exists, that we're connected to each other, that we want to support each other. And then
mm.
you find the things that you're really passionate about and the things that you have to offer, and you find how you can make them go together. So you go, oh, I care about the environment and I love going for walks, and maybe I can take my friends and we can pick up trash on the beach or in the woods on the weekend, or maybe I can make my business do something to contribute to the organizations that I believe in. Maybe I can create a special group at my school or in my church or in my synagogue to do something about this thing that we all seem to care about. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. And every little thing you do adds up to something much bigger. And sometimes even the smallest things are the things that have the biggest impact. You never know.
Yes, like opening the door, like, oh, smallest things could have the biggest impact. Wow. Very good. So you can see change makers. We can all start wherever we are. Start small, everything matters. Very nice.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Very empowering, encouraging. It makes us take action. Very nice. So
Definitely.
many people want to make a difference, but don't know where to begin. Is it that? What is the simplest step anyone can start to contributing? So is it something like that? We can just start anything, anything. For business people,
Anything.
you've told us
Yeah.
business people is contributing to any cause that you.
Yeah, one of my favorite things you've sort of made me think of in my career is that I have had the opportunity to help businesses think about how they can use whatever people they have working for them, whatever product or service they have, and do something good in the world. And I gave the example of Lyft. At Lyft, it's a rideshare company like Uber. And we did everything from give refugees rides from the airport when they land in the United States, help support returned veterans that are people that had served in the military that are trying to get jobs afterwards, or domestic abuse survivors as they're trying to rebuild their life with their kids away from their abuser. There are lots of ways that this rideshare company could give rides to people to help them achieve their next step, whatever that next step to a better life would be. Lyft also gave rides to nonprofits, so supporting people that are working with homeless communities here in San Francisco and in New York City, so that they can get a free ride to go out and check on communities in areas of high need. Um, and those organizations also, one of the campaigns that I did there was a Black History Month, a Women's History Month campaign, where we gave free rides to Black-owned businesses, Black history museums, to try to increase understanding of culture, try to build support for businesses, just knowing these businesses and driving new customers there. Like, what a cool thing for a company that is giving rides to be able to support all these different nonprofit organizations, but also just increasing diversity, equity, inclusion in the world. And so, whatever your product is, there is that capacity there. You just need somebody who's sort of innovative, thinking outside of the box, talking to people from different backgrounds, cultures, types of work, and they can see connections. We even saw after the tsunami in Southeast Asia that like Facebook was using some facial recognition software, which to help you know photos that you're in, and they could use that facial recognition software to help identify missing kids that showed up in this other village after the tsunami. They got washed away,
Wow. Wow.
or in places that have child soldiers where kids have been abducted, that facial recognition can help go, oh, here's Joseph. He's from that village and we know he's alive and we know where he is. So all that kind of thing that is in a business, you can find applications. And if nothing else, you can drive a portion of your profits towards doing good. You can take your team out and volunteer. So there's a million different ways. We used to garden on Alcatraz here when I worked at Kiva, and that was our job was giving back to the world, but then we would give back in another way just by helping with environmental restoration on a local island. So there's a million things you can do.
Oh, amazing. So there we are. There's no reason why we can't impact the world, bring meaning to what we do. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So this is a Christmas issue. It's about reflection of light, hope, and humanity. So with this season, is a season of compassion and renewal. What does this season actually represent to you personally, on a personal note?
That's beautiful. I think what I love most about this time of the year is that you see the best of people. You see people being so kind, And I think sometimes when you're surrounded by cold and dark and it gets dark earlier and it's less comfortable outside, we appreciate the warmth of connection and humanity more than any other time of the year. And we also feel for one another and feel for people that don't have
Mhm.
the same access to resources, shelter, connection that we have. And so we are even kinder towards others and just have a real thoughtfulness and compassion towards giving and making sure everyone feels cared for and loved.
Yeah, fantastic. And in the US, you have the Thanksgiving, so everything just rotates your mindset, and people seem to focus on being grateful, but also on giving others, especially around Christmas.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thanksgiving is such a special time. I wish people felt we're reminded about gratitude all year long, but it's nice to at least have one moment where we can go, what are you thankful for? What are all the things that you have access to that we can give thanks for? Yeah,
exactly. Then we get the awakening. It's a time to really wake up and yeah, realize that you have a lot, and also get to opportunity to realize that there are others that don't have, and you could share part of what you have with them. Yeah. Even if
absolutely.
it's
So
your
beautiful.
time, like you share the time, you share your energy, your resources, whatever it is that you
Mhm.
can share. Yeah.
Absolutely. Even
Beautiful.
just attention, even just letting someone know they're seen, they're known, they're valued, that can mean the world to someone, especially if they don't experience it very often.
Yes, yes, definitely. So, as we enter New Year, what message of hope and courage would you like to offer the world, especially those experiencing hardship?
Mm. Oh, I hate to ask. Can we pause my oh, I love this. Beautiful question. You know, the thing that I think holds people back from their best humanity is something we've touched on a few times, which is just knowing that you're enough, knowing that you're worthy, knowing that you're divine. That was a really hard lesson for me. Um, and I feel like I'm still coming into that knowing. But if you're experiencing hardship, especially,
Yeah.
know that you are so valued and so special, and you're worth being here, and you have something to contribute, and you're loved, even if it's by people like me who feel love for people they've never met and never
Yeah.
connected with.
Yeah.
You're known and you're loved, even if you're feeling alone or unseen. Um, and you're very valuable. You have something to contribute. Um, so I think that's the most important piece. And then I would say the second most important piece is so is everybody around you. Um, People that are suffering need you, they need your light, they need your love. Um, People that are being unkind need your forgiveness and your guidance and your modeling. And the people that love you and the kind people of the world like need your goodness to keep working towards better worlds that we know are possible. Um, so you're enough and we need you just as you
Ah,
are.
beautiful. Oh, so beautiful for
Thank
all of us
you.
to tap into that. For all of us as we enter into the new year, that's something we can take with us. And to remember to have forgiveness and compassion for even those that do we think who do wrong. Yeah. Wow, beautiful. If you could define one intention for humanity going into 2026, what would it be?
Mm. I feel like I'm learning more and more that my purpose is in this place of helping people see their own worthiness, but also helping us all see how we can help ease suffering, whether that's our own suffering or someone else's suffering. And so much suffering is needless. So much of it is, oh, I wish I had that sweater someone's wearing on Instagram, or I wish I was on that vacation in Greece, or there's this longing that can create suffering. But instead, it can just be appreciation. It can be like, wow, look at this person. I'm happy for them with their sweater or their vacation in Greece.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be needless suffering. So I would say I wish everyone eased from suffering in whatever form that needs to take. And my intention for myself is to recognize when I'm creating suffering that is needless, and also to recognize when other people are, and to just help continue to ease the suffering, because I think we have enough people that are unaware that they're creating more suffering in the world, and there is a real need for people to help ease that in whatever way is possible. So that is my deep intention. It's an intention that I hope a lot of people take up in 2026 and beyond. And if our intention is just to ease suffering, I feel like we can't go wrong.
That's very good. That's beautiful. It connects back to, I think, the start of the interview. Somewhere at the beginning, you talked about your mom being a Buddhist and how suffering is. So it's, we're coming towards the end and you're joined back.
I didn't even know I brought it full circle back to
You
easing suffering.
Yeah, to ease suffering. And I don't know if you can highlight that bit of the Buddhist kind of understanding and approach towards suffering. I think it can ease a lot of pain.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have grown in my understanding of Buddhism, even more so being away from my mom. It was part of my life when I was young, but as I am continuing to learn more, it's very much being present in the moment. And when you're being present, you're not agonizing about something that happened in the past. You're not worrying and anxious about something in the future. In the present moment, for most of us, we are safe. We are fine. There's nothing to make our nervous system uncalm. And so if you can be present in your body and present in a moment, often it can help ease suffering, just because of all the suffering from the past and the future that is unnecessary. Um, and the other half of it, that is the looking at all beings with eyes of compassion, can also help ease suffering, because someone's bumps you or they cut in front of you in the grocery store line or something like that. You can feel suffering or pain, or you're upset, you're frustrated, you're angry that this thing happened to you. Some kid's kicking the back of your seat on the airplane. You're like, oh, it's driving you crazy. But when you then go, oh, maybe this person is like rushing home to take care of their sick mom, or maybe that kid is so uncomfortable. Like, can you imagine being 4 years old and being trapped on a plane for 10 hours straight? Like, poor kid. So you just like released all of this suffering that was balling up inside your chest. And I don't know, it's just the Buddhist way is even though I used to think it just means life is suffering, like Buddhists just think everything is suffering, it actually helps me see suffering as this thing that I can either hold on to or just let it go. And the release of it, the release of fear, of shame, of judgment, of worry, of anxiety, of taking things personally, like I just release it all. And I think that's what the Buddhist practice has really helped me. I'm not Buddhist, but I do learn a lot from Buddhism. And yeah, it just, there's this image of a guy that kind of walks up to you with a pile of manure and tries to give it to you, and you can just not take it. There's just this painting of a Buddhist monk, and he's like, that's okay, you keep that. It's like you don't have to accept the suffering. You can just be like, no, or you can take it and you can plant it and grow a flower. There's all kinds of things you can do, but you don't have to hold on to it.
Wow, we've just got a masterclass there. And I mean, how can we become if we are suffering? So that is a great intention you've given us. And for us to become stellar women, we have to know how to release. We have to know how to be present. So it's really beautiful that you've brought us to that attention and all these mechanisms of letting go, but also having compassion and being in the present moment should be ways in which we can evolve, transcend whatever situation that we are in. I have learned a lot, so
I have too.
I
You've
feel
brought it
so
back to
happy.
me. I feel like part of this is releasing the old ideas of what we were taught the world was supposed to be like, releasing those and creating new ones. And then also just releasing the pain, the suffering, the judgment that we hold. We don't have to. We can let it all go and create better systems, better world, better ways of being, calmer nervous systems. And that's what stellar women, I think, are doing.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. You don't know how much suffering just comes from holding on to the judgment of shame. And when you are labeling them, naming them, I was like, yeah, 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 I can see myself. Okay, all the suffering, if I now just release that, release that, release that.
Mhm. Just
Beautiful. We will be set free.
I love it.
Very much freedom. Thank you. So you've built systems, created safe spaces, changed lives across the globe. When you think of your legacy, what do you hope people will remember?
I hope people will remember. Oh, I hate to repeat myself, but I feel like it's that same answer. It's the biggest part of my journey for my own well-being and growth has been seeing my own value. I spent so much of my life
Mhm.
knowing everyone else was valuable, and I was very willing to risk my life and my safety because I knew everybody else had value, but I didn't see my own for a long time.
Mm.
And I think both sides of that coin are so deeply important.
Mhm.
Um, so I hope they remember that everyone is so beautiful and so valuable and is worth giving time, attention, resources, our energy to making sure that they know that and that they experience a life where they feel that in every way, in every day of their being. But then I think we also need to feel it ourselves, and we need to honor that in ourselves. So I hope my legacy is around the value of life, the value of every one of us,
Mm.
um, the compassion to be able to see that with passion, with heart in each other and in ourselves. Um, and just the curiosity and understanding, wanting to know ourselves better, wanting to know each other better, wanting to understand the world we live in better. And understanding is love. You can't, really love something without understanding something about it, looking at it, knowing what it is that you're sending your love towards. And so I think yeah, it makes me go back to that very first quote we talked about from Neil deGrasse Tyson, which is knowing more about the world than I knew yesterday and easing the suffering of others. Maybe that's the legacy that I want to leave, but it's um not just the suffering of others, but the suffering of self that I want to ease.
Mm.
So understanding and compassion, I think, are the two biggest parts that I would like to leave
So,
as a legacy.
sorry about that. I felt like I was speaking now to the healer within you at that point. So
Mm. Oh,
it's like now I'm with a healer here. We're going into more depth there in terms of healing, in terms of, so there's more to the work that you're doing. There's something.
absolutely. Absolutely. There's the external work that I really believe in out in the world, and there's the internal work that will never end also. Because although we are perfect as we are ever evolving. And I am continuing to learn and grow, as is everyone around me. And I want to facilitate that for myself, and reach my own full self-actualization. But I also want to facilitate that opportunity for everyone, especially those who have been denied the most access to being able to do that.
Beautiful. Just so beautiful. So, what truth have you learned from the world and yourself that every woman should know?
That she's divine.
She's
She's
divine.
divine. Everyone has this divinity. And I say this as someone that is not very religious or very spiritually driven.
Mm.
Um, so it is a really unique thing for me to talk about divinity. But I
Mhm.
do think there is something just intrinsically valuable and beautiful
Mhm.
and priceless inside every living being. Um, and life is such a gift, and it's temporary and it's fragile. And that can be very scary for people to know. Part of this class that I'm in talks about, I'm in a class that uses a lot of teachings from Buddhism. And every day, every morning, and every evening, we have to remind ourselves that we're getting old. We're of the nature to be sick. We're of the nature to die. Everyone and everything we love and hold dear is of the nature to change and be separated from us. We can't hold on to any of it. And the only thing that we have is what we do with the time that we have, however brief. So the actions, the choices that we're making every day is all that we have. And for some people, that can feel very sad, like, oh, I'm going to lose everyone. I'm going to die. I'm going to get sick. I'm growing old. Like, but it just reminds you, be present now. Don't miss it. Don't miss a single moment because it's priceless. It's valuable. You're priceless. You're valuable. Just enjoy this moment of your life and really be in it. Be present in it because it's fleeting and you don't know how long you have yourself or with anyone else or with anything that you love. So appreciate it, be grateful for it, and experience it while it's here. Um, so that's sort of like it's divine and eternal, but it's also temporary and fleeting in some ways. So while you are invaluable, um, it's important to be present in the moment and just be very grateful and be present. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. How beautiful that is. Now, before we leave, we always want our stellar women to leave a challenge for all our listeners, our
Mm.
subscribers, to help them really step into their full power and become the women that they're called to be, especially starting now, as we've just authored the book, Begin It Now.
I
Yeah.
love it.
So, what challenge would you like to leave all our listeners, our viewers, our
Oh,
readers?
this is so fun. Off the top of my head, I thought of two things just really quickly when you said this. One is something that I do myself is I just push myself to do one thing that's like out of my comfort zone,
Yeah.
a little daring every day. And it can be small. It can just be like say hello to the person in front of you in the queue at the store or on next to you on the bus, or you never had the courage to wear that bright red lipstick, just wear it, or just one thing that day that pushes you a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And I think as we exercise that muscle, we get stronger and stronger at doing things differently that take a little courage and boldness. And the other thing that came to mind, if someone wants to do it instead, is to think of something that you care about in this world. Maybe you care about the dogs at the dog shelter, or maybe you care about the Amazon rainforest, or saving the whales or the dolphins, or helping at-risk youth in your community. Whatever it is, just look into it. What can you do? Can you go once a week and walk the dogs at the shelter so they're more adoptable? Can you go teach literacy to youth or adults in your community? Is there just one thing you can do to create the change that you want to see in the world and be part of the solution? So either one of those would be great, or both.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, both. Oh, both. There's no reason why not both. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. There you are. So you have seen those challenges that you need, that we all need to become women. You can take both, or you can actually just do one of them. That is your way in which you can become a stellar woman. So it has been really an honor, and I am really thrilled, so happy that we found this stellar woman and she managed to give us the time to share with us her knowledge, her experiences, and her perspective of life. And I'm sure that you too are going to learn one or two things. You're going to be inspired. I don't know what it will be that will inspire you, what change you're going to take action upon. So we're really, really grateful for your time, Jessica. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored, and I hope I was able to help someone be inspired in your community. And I'm so happy to connect more if people have questions or ideas and they want support or a thought partner out in the world. Please reach out to me anytime. And I'm just so honored for your time and honored to be invited to be in this space and community with you.
All right, thank you so much. It has been me, Stella Olivia Kikoy, your editor-in-chief and your host for the Stella Woman Show. Remember to take action to become the person you are called to be. Tap into the light that has been shared with you. And it is Jessica as well. Jessica, one final word you want to say for this Christmas, for this season, as we say
You
bye-bye?
are absolutely, you're all amazing and divine, and I can't wait to see all the goodness that will come out of you in the next year.
Fantastic. So we're calling upon you to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Remember to take up space, know your divine, know your value, and your worth it. Shine so bright. We're just waiting to tap into your light and shine it as well here at the Stellar Woman magazine and the Stellar Woman Show. Thank you. Until then, bye bye.